let's get into it. This is TeenSpace. Hello and welcome to the TeenSpace Podcast. My name is Danielle, your host, and today we are continuing our series of meeting new faces. This is our second episode, and we will be interviewing Makayla Anderson, also known as our TeenSpace Minnesota chapter director. Hi, Makayla.
Hello, yes.
Would you like to introduce yourself really quick?
Yeah, of course. Yes, my name is Makayla, and of course I'm from Minnesota, as said. But yeah, I'm a brave avid volunteer. I'm also a senior in high school this year, and yeah, I just love being able to help out teens or people of all ages in their mental health and also just understanding of advocacy.
I love that. Let's get straight into it. I'm really excited. So, would you like to talk a little bit about what inspired you to get involved with our organization?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I think in general, like right away, I just found you guys on Instagram or through social media, and I thought it was just a really great organization to be able to advocate and to be able to understand how different types of ideas are kind of formulated.
Definitely. Something big here at TeenSpace is that we're a platform for all. So when at least Nisha told me about the fact that we're having a Minnesota chapter, I definitely was really excited at that prospect, especially since personally I've never met anyone from Minnesota before, and that kind of impact that we have, that our outreach is making it all the way across the country. It's just amazing to hear about. More on that. So you're based in Minnesota, as we've covered, which is definitely far from where most of our team is located. What's something about your school or community that feels kind of unique compared to what you've seen from New Jersey and the schools on the East Coast?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think it's really great to cover as well because honestly, again, like being like in a chapter in Minnesota, of course, Minnesota TeenSpace is a lot different probably from what New Jersey TeenSpace as well, the headquarters does, but not too far off from the ideas as general ideas and mission. But first, I would say Minnesota in general, like what I love most about the state is probably the healthcare community. Like we have a very big state on being able to, like Mayo Clinic, it's really more kind of focused on education and being able to really educate on anything really related to that. And I think it's a decent state. I haven't really traveled very much to really sound probably biased, but yeah, definitely I think definitely bringing the idea of TeenSpace to Minnesota has also got me the idea of like what the kind of the general aspect of like how, like where mental health kind of sits right now and that kind of thing. And I think I've definitely learned a lot more about just kind of like the idea of like how we can expand and help other teens like kind of educate themselves on what mental health means to them. So
Yeah. That's so interesting. I think that there are, like, I guess culture shocks wherever you go. But if you could say, like, really simply, what's, like, one thing you love most about, like, your state?
yeah, of course, like in general, I think like again, I'm probably biased because I haven't really traveled much in my life, but I think I think general, seems like the idea of education and being able to have like a lot of like everything seems pretty close together. Like unlike like states like California or something like that, like everything I feel like is an hour or two radius from where you are, so even closer than that too, depending on what we're talking about. But I think everything is close together, and there's a lot of different. It's very pretty. I love that, and like I'm a very outdoorsy person, walking my dogs all the time, so. I guess I'll say that, but
I could totally relate. I don't know if you know, but New Jersey is actually like coined as the garden state. I definitely really enjoy walking in nature as well. But let's transition into something more related to the main focus of this episode. I know you wanted to mention um, high school and that hard transition from being a middle schooler to being a high schooler. Would you like to talk a little bit about your experience and what it was like for you?
yeah, of course. I think my situation is a little bit different than most people. I have been homeschooled or online schooled since I was from third grade, so quite a long time actually. So my transition wasn't that big of a transition. Actually, it was pretty much just like understanding the classwork, and I think a lot of it was more just like I think teaching myself more and more was kind of more of the struggle versus most people struggles about like having an in-person school and people and all that kind of stuff. But I think also high school. Being able to just understand, like, I do a lot of, like, post-secondary, a lot of classes out of college, so I think also just transitioning to going in person, I think, was kind of a little bit, again, like, a little more different of a transition than most people, but it was definitely interesting to, like, learn how online and in person and kind of morphing them together was definitely a new way for learning of me. But yeah, again, I also am dyslexic, so it was kind of a little more of a transition. But yeah, I love like kind of researching and understanding how people kind of go through that transition in different ways. I think is very interesting, and hopefully helping them through that transition as well is important to me.
That's so interesting. I actually had no clue that you were homeschooled. Um, if you don't mind me asking, what were some of the biggest challenges you faced on that transition to high school, even though you were homeschooled?
Yeah, of course. Like it's like in general. Like, I think the biggest challenge was I think it's like teaching myself more things because I feel like during homeschool, like the thing a big part of it is just like learning how to teach yourself, learning how to understand like what kind of skills that you need to have to teach yourself in ways of like what you're learning. But I think definitely that transition of kind of harder schoolwork and kind of a little bit more on your own and less teacher help I think was a little more interesting for me. But then also I do like full time college classes as well, so it was kind of a little bit more transition of being like the last couple of years, I'm just like understanding like going to a college instead of just doing everything from my house. So it was a little bit different in that transition, but yeah, I think definitely just being able to understand again like ways to teach myself, just like understanding like how I can be a better person for myself and like time management. I think was a big key in everything. But yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I honestly find that really fascinating since for a lot of people, once you're put into more rigorous classes, there is that notion of self studying. But in your case, obviously, you're thrown into this and you have to teach yourself the different ways to teach yourself. Something I wanted to ask you is just that what did those experiences and I guess that time period teach you about patience and self acceptance? If you could continue.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think they generally like being able to. This is a really great question. I'm trying to think of a good way to say this besides just like blabbering. But yeah, I think just like understanding a good idea of like in the beginning, kind of just like understanding like who I'm with myself. Yeah, it took me a while to like learn, and it took me a while to really be friends with myself. I think that's a lot really hard to beginning for anyone to be able to understand like what their own traits are and be able to accept that and be able to build off that and become a better person for yourself and other people. I think that's just really it was a hard process. I went through a lot of different types of mental health challenges and that kind of thing. And then eventually, here I am now. Yeah, still dealing with stuff, but then of course being able to build off of that and meet other people with like-minded ideas, even though it's virtual most of the time. But yeah, I think just being able to like understand that, being able to it's kind of look at yourself and be able to like see where you want to go and just build off of that. Start somewhere. And I think that's I think I kind of like rely a lot on my volunteer opportunities and a lot of like my job and things I want to do in my life. I think just see that as going up on the way of the ladder in life. But yeah, I'm probably just blabbering. But I think it's hard for me, but I think anyone can do it and just be learning who you are and being able to accept yourself and learn mental health and learn different ways. And I think just there's so much to learn in this world, but definitely learn about the things that are important to you, especially. If that makes sense.
That makes total sense. Don't worry about it. You did mention briefly about how you did go through some mental health struggles yourself. If you could talk a bit about your experience with your own mental health even more and
Yeah, of course, yeah. And honestly, like it's a big topic for me because I went through more than one or two things. It was quite a few things growing up, especially on your own. You don't really realize other things that people are going through. You just kind of go through your own things with ideas that you think are what life is like, even though that's kind of just what in your brain is because you're not too much out in the real world. Not to say I'm some sort of isolated weirdo troll. But yeah, I think that's like going over the mental health. I don't think I went through a lot of just kind of like anxiety and just general anxiety and depression. That just kind of understanding like again being isolated and just understanding like again like wasting social media isn't exactly real life all the time. So just kind of anxiety in that way and depression and become just kind of isolation that kind of thing. But then also my own personal life, family struggles, that kind of thing. I didn't do a lot of it, but I think just going off of that, just understanding, like I went through a lot of different types of like eating disorders, eating challenges. That was quite a bit of my kind of out of came to the word teenage years. I'm gonna say that, but yeah, I think it was just a big challenge, just kind of understanding, like again, like kind of being isolated, but then also understanding like that life isn't exactly what you see and what you hear, and just kind of really actually living it. And life is too short to not live it in the moment that you are in. So I think that's what helped me a lot is just learning that, and also everyone that helped me through. But again, I can probably thank myself more than most people that I can see. But yeah, if it makes sense. That didn't go too in depth, but yeah, like the thing I just like to kind of touch the brief points and realize anyone can get through their struggles if you just see the end and you really want to kind of get better for yourself and others. Is kind of what took me out of it.
Thank you for sharing. Again, you briefly touched upon the fact that social media is kind of a big factor in self image and stuff like that. And I've definitely discussed in a bunch of my past podcasts about how social media is kind of just a highlight reel, as you were saying, and how it's really, really like difficult and challenging for yourself and your own image when you kind of compare yourself to people who you know nothing about otherwise. And I can totally understand how um, being homeschooled and not necessarily having many opportunities to interact with people on the daily might make you feel a little isolated, but that honest perspective is really interesting, and I'm really, really glad that you were able to share that because, again, Teen Space is all about sharing your voice no matter who you are and kind of using this platform to talk about the different struggles that all teens have, whether it be something we can all relate to or something that's niche or specific to a certain group or specific person themselves. And I think that that message you're saying that no matter what, you can rise above whatever issue you're facing at the current moment, it's just very powerful and impactful and profound. Yeah, again, thank you so much for sharing. This is something that we can both talk about kind of together. If you could give your freshman yourself one piece of advice, what would it be?
Yeah, this was a really great question. I like looking back to freshman year, being a senior nowadays. It just feels so weird. Like I feel like I'm not graduating for like 4 years, even though I am like every month. It's crazy, but yeah. I mean, like looking back at my freshman year, I'd probably just say, life will go on. I feel like such freshman year, I was so concerned about getting into colleges, getting into a job, getting into all these sponsored things that I wanted to, being so concerned about having everything at that minute because you start in high school and you think that I feel like every freshman feels like they're gonna be 30 tomorrow, like 30 years tomorrow. Like it's kind of like this weird like idea that you have in your mind, even though you're literally just starting your life. And I think just really looking back on that, really looking into the future is kind of like looking back and thinking about like, oh, I really I think I just want to tell her that oh my gosh, I finally made it. Like you know what I mean? Just kind of the idea like, oh, I made the things I really wanted to do, and it took time, but time is power, and I know sometimes like taking time feels crazy and feels like a waste and all that kind of stuff, but like we get like the life is longer than you think it is, and but also shorter than you think it is at the same time. So life is kind of a crazy thing, but I think looking back on it is just kind of being able to look at myself and be like just kind of like think about taking your time, think about taking more time out to really just kind of enjoy the minute. I feel like a lot of times I was just really anxious about having everything done at this time, and I think it kind of also helped me kind of like advance forward a little bit. But it was also like, okay, everyone else had so much fun with their friends and their life, and I was kind of here on my computer applying to 14 volunteer things a day, but I didn't need to at the minute. But yeah, it makes sense. I think just being able to slow down a little bit, really soak up life, and really understand that life is more than what you do, but it is also a lot like who you are, and being able to just see that. But I don't know if that went too deep or something, but
no, that's perfect. I honestly think that's so relatable. When I first was a freshman, I definitely had that slow mindset, but halfway through, I think I really was struck with the oh my goodness, I'm going to be in college in the next 4 years, and I actually have to make myself the person that I want to be. Like, I have to achieve my goals and get there. And as you said, I was flooded with all of these goals in mind, and I had that kind of idea that I have to achieve everything by tomorrow, right?
Exactly.
But really, that idea to take your time, slow down, and really enjoy the moment is, again, something really profound. I was looking at this thing the other day about how you don't realize this is the time you're going to be nostalgic about until you're 10 years in the future or something like that. And I really agree with that, since now that I'm a junior in high school, it seems like it was so long ago when I was a freshman. But at the same time, as you said, life is crazy. I still feel like that was maybe a week ago in some aspects. So if I honestly had to give my freshman year self a piece of advice, I think it would be to um similar to yours, live in the moment and truly take every opportunity as you can, despite
exactly.
despite maybe not knowing exactly what you want to do yet. I think that a lot of the things that I did in my freshman year, just out of pure luck or just coincidence, ended up becoming some of the things that I love the most. a lot of what you said really resonates with me about that. Like, oh, I need to be signed up for these 14 volunteer things by yesterday, right? um, because I
Exactly.
think that in terms of my school, there definitely is a lot of academic pressure. I think in your case, it's a lot of like that pressure comes from yourself. If we want
For
to
sure.
move on to the next topic about balancing kind of your regular life as well as your mental health, how do you personally manage not just your social life, but just your life in general and your time to just chill and relax and figure out who you are without feeling drained, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah. I think like a big idea of it. So just like time management. I don't know. It's like a very very general phrase, but I think I definitely like realizing like okay, like I think planning out my day. I remember back when I was like I started high school, I was very very like minute by minute planner. I was like, this time I'm gonna do this and this, but like really life doesn't happen in like good life things don't happen in plans. Like you were saying a minute ago about signing up for something like all of a sudden, and that's like the best thing that's happened. Like I think I did the same thing with like the American Red Cross, and I just signed up for it one day, not thinking about it, and all of a sudden, oh, here I am. But that's off task. But to the question, I think just like understanding, like okay, like I think right now, like for nowadays, I definitely go and like look at my planner and like see what meetings I have, see what kind of school I need to do. Really, just plan that out. Kind of, I mean, not like insanely, but being able to have like a good idea of like getting multiple things in multiple goal areas of my day together. I think is really important, and not just focusing on like one thing, like having schoolwork and having volunteerism and having walking my dog, chores, things like that. Just being able to put all those together in a day and like having work and all that kind of stuff is really important. I think just like a good balance of everything and each day I think is really important just for overall growth and really important for just like understanding of each thing that making sure nothing gets left behind. But I'm not sure if that helps me at all with the question, but yeah. I think it's my main thing that I do every day is sure I'm on task with everything that I do.
Mhm. Now that you're a senior, I bet there's so much for you to do, and there's only so many hours in a day, so time management definitely is the optimal key in terms of managing kind of my life without feeling drained. Along with time management, I also just like make sure to schedule those little blocks of time where I can just have, I guess, me time. But I guess that kind of moves to our next question as well. But back to the whole reason why we're here in this episode, I wanted to talk about the Minnesota chapter a little bit. I'm really excited to see everything that you guys have to offer. But what are you most excited about as our new chapter director?
Yeah, of course, and that's my question too. Again, like when I started the TeenSpace chapter, I was very, very, and still now to this day, I'm very, very excited about the opportunity to be able to, connect with teens on a different level of mental health and also understanding of like who you want to be and who you are today and help them get to that point and understanding and just being there and listening and also provide resources. But I think I said that I was like I think that's what I'm most excited about too is just be able to provide resources and be able to it's gonna again like be a listening ear and also help students create opportunities for what they want to do when they grow up and hopefully bring that idea out there and help them find themselves. I think that's really important to me as a person. So again, like I think that's how I want to like grow my TeenSpace chapter. Like right now, it is kind of small, but I don't envision it being small forever. I think definitely growing it as I go, and I think I'm really excited for opportunities that I can bring for other people as it goes along.
Yeah. On the contrasting side, what do you think has been difficult about starting this chapter?
Yeah, of course. I think it's been difficult. I think recruitment. I'm honestly not that amazing at recruitment, so I guess I can grow. I need to work on that myself. But like marketing and recruitment, I think is the more difficult side is like understanding like okay, like as far as like my target audience, which is of course teens, but then also being able to be like like my experience of being more of a homeschool person, being more of kind of a introvert and understanding kind of recruit through that idea. I think it's been a little bit harder, but I'm also getting a few people to sign up and I think too. But I think again just like growing the chapter as a whole. But I think again it will come with time. So
Yeah,
very exciting.
hopefully this episode will help you a little bit in terms of outreach. If you happen to be a teen in Minnesota who is really passionate about, I guess, what TeenSpace has to offer and providing those resources for mental health and just advocating for having mental wellness be in the conversation, you could definitely reach out through the TeenSpace Minnesota Instagram or just to Makayla directly. But last question, overall, I guess in terms of goals as well, how do you hope to make an impact in your community through this role?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think this question I think is so important. I think right now what I'm going to say is very, very broad, but I just want to make an impact through just like again, like I said, I'm going to go to the impact through the ideas of teens and what they want, where they want to be and helping them get there. I think that is just so important. Being able to provide resources and make resources and also just being able to speak to schools and students and the idea of like helping them. But I think just kind of go overviewing all of our topics today within the whole podcast. I think just overviewing all that is kind of where I want to bring the idea to teens all over Minnesota. I think just being able to bring that kind of idea of like mental health and that becoming yourself isn't something to be ashamed of. I think just having the idea and just being able to bring that to students, I think is kind of my main goal. But yeah, again, very excited. Again, that's very broad, but hopefully I can kind of work on that as I go, and hopefully I can like ideas form and all throughout my team and stuff like that. We can of course go into smaller depths of ideas, but for right now, yeah, very excited for the general idea of TeenSpace and our mission to bring that.
Yeah, knowing your background in volunteer and how many opportunities you've gone through that route, I'm so excited to see what you help bring to TeenSpace, since I truly can understand that you have that kind heart and are willing to make that difference through actual work and passion. Um, so I'm so sure that you have so many exciting things planned. I just would like to thank you overall for your insight throughout this entire podcast, and all of us from TeenSpace, especially our listeners, are so excited to see what you have planned for the future. Wrapping this up a little bit, where can we find you, at least on social media? And is there anything you would like to advertise?
Yeah, of course. Like honestly, I guess for the social media page, like first follow our Instagram page was TeenSpace_NN from Minnesota. I'm related, but just follow that page. Of course, right now I'm posting a bunch of. Well, I'm actually in the progress of posting things related to TeenSpace and recruitment and how to sign up to be a board member or also just a general member and different types of committees that we have. But I think definitely there are also my personal account, which is Hopeful Roses Cards, which does not make that much sense, but we're looking at changing as well. Yeah, definitely follow us on our account, and I'd love to you as a member hopefully in the future.
Lovely. And I'd like to thank you one more time for being here on the podcast and sharing all of your insight. I've had a wonderful time getting to know you. Thank you also to our listeners for being in the space with us. This has been the TeenSpace Podcast, and you can find all of our socials in the description below. Bye bye. Thank you for sharing this space with us.